This is Robert Gardner, host of Fantasy Wizards. Thank you for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Katie, co-host of Coffee with Keith and Katie here on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Coffee with Keith and Katie, where we talk about the adventures of our daily lives and relationship. A new show comes out every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Coffee with Keith and Katie. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Can I be real with you guys? There are a lot of things that confuse me in this crazy, messed up world. Now, I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but there are certain aspects of life that have me up in the middle of the night just wondering, what the heck is going on? What is the meaning of life? Why is Michael Bay allowed to make movies? Is Jar Jar the key to all of this? Above all of that, besides maybe the Jar Jar thing, why do so many people hate musicals? I think I have a theory. I tend to believe that people associate all musicals with chick flicks. Now please, don't get me wrong. Chick flicks are great in their own right. A lot of people love them, and a lot of them can be high quality movies. And that's not to say that only women can enjoy these films. Anyone can. The word chick flick is just the terminology that many use for these types of films. That being said though, many studios do try to take advantage of their audiences. In an attempt to make a quick profit, these companies crank out low quality, cheaply made films that look like an emotionally satisfying chick flick, when in reality, they are putting little effort into it. A lot of people draw comparisons to some really well-made musicals with these disposable, poorly made, emotionally manipulative movies. Now if you like these movies, all the power in the world to you. Sometimes I enjoy them. If someone was like,
"Hey, do you want to hang out? Get some pizza? Maybe watch 27 Dresses?"
You know I'd be down. But people tend to associate musicals with these films, and honestly, I don't get it. It's like some people think it's not manly enough to enjoy musicals. Let me eat my jerky and wrestle a water buffalo. But honestly, musicals have been such a joyous addition to cinema since the first talkie movies. Musicals can sweep you off your feet into the surreal. They blend visuals, music, and story to amplify the emotion to the highest it can go. So much work is put into the choreography, the colors, the performances. Nothing puts a smile on my face faster than these colorful characters getting up, singing and dancing while the music swells up. It's one of the forgotten magical moments of cinema. Musicals can be pure escapism magic. Unfortunately, with an ever-cynical generation of movie fans arising, musicals have lost their luster being compared to some poorly made films. Fortunately, in recent years, there seems to have been a resurgence in the modern musical. Although it seems to have started with Hugh Jackman's Les Miserables in 2012, and probably a little before that, I think the real magic of musicals was fully captured in 2016. On today's episode of Cinema Stories, we get swept away into the magical world of musicals. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. My name is Sam Kirby, I'm with Public House Media, and today we get musical, talking, movie, and TV news and reviews. On this episode, we discuss two of the most recent musicals that grace the silver screens. We talk last year's Best Picture nominee La La Land, as well as the latest Hugh Jackman musical, The Greatest Showman. So what makes a good musical, and do these musicals capture the magic of cinema? Let's find out. This is The Greatest Showman. I think I'm gonna stop talking like this now. Sorry, I have no idea who that was. Now, I believe anyone. Me, you, Troy, and Gabriella from High School Musical.
We're breaking free.
Anyone can review a musical by analyzing the plot, direction and cinematography, character and performance, and of course, the musical numbers. The plot of The Greatest Showman follows entrepreneur, family man, con man, and of course showman P.T. Barnum. After being let go from his job, Barnum realizes that this isn't the life that he has promised his family. Aspiring to overcome his poor position and give his family a truly magical life, Barnum utilizes his indomitable spirit and savvy business strategies to create a show like no other. With the assistance of a gang of special, yet socially handicapped, self-proclaimed freaks, Barnum rises to fame as the showman behind the first freak show. With power and fortune, Barnum is faced with the challenges of close-minded citizens and balancing his family life and the pressures of his fame. Will Barnum fall down this dark path, or will he rise above it, retaining his soul and the love of his family? Now that we have the synopsis out of the way, let's see if the story works. For me, unfortunately, not really. Now, let me explain myself. From what I know about P.T. Barnum, which is admittedly very little, this man lived a very interesting, complex life. Famous for coining the phrase, "There's a sucker born every minute." Barnum was a complex, conniving character. His life should have easily lent itself to an intriguing, enthralling story. Unfortunately, what we get here is a story that could be lifted from a Lifetime movie. Well, golly, Sam, don't you think that's a little harsh? No, not really. The plot is very, very derivative. Within the first 15 minutes of the film, you can tell exactly what's going to happen in the rest of the movie, which is disappointing as I really enjoyed the opening number. It's the basic story of a family man falling into fame and fortune while trying to retain the trust of his family. That sentence sounds like it could be taken in any direction, but it goes as cheesy and predictable as you could guess. There are a few scenes in here, one involving an uber cliche misunderstanding. The whole time I sat there like, nah, they're not gonna do that. No, there's no way. That's so predictable. Do they think of, they did it. They did it. Wow, they actually did it. I sat there and cringed. Honestly, the story beats are so derivative in this movie. Now, that can work if the other aspects of filmmaking elevate the story. Unfortunately, they don't. But you can tell they're trying their absolute hardest, which is admirable. Let's talk about the direction and cinematography. The film is directed by Michael Gracie. You want to know his other works? Well, he did a few commercials. Yeah, that's it. This is actually very telling. I honestly think Gracie is trying his hardest here. I won't lie and say that I wasn't swept up from time to time in the magic of the moment. The direction of some of the numbers were terrific, especially the scene with Barnum and the businessman Philip in the bar. The first 10 minutes had me very engaged, and even though I knew where it was going, I was delighted with the choreography, the performances, and the emotion put into it. You can tell, though, that the director has only worked on commercials prior to this. As the film progresses with cliches, sappy story beats and situations, some of it's kind of laughable. He doesn't yet know how to construct an emotional yet unique, challenging story. The direction is mixed, but I would like to see what Gracie can do in his next film. The cinematography is one of the best aspects of this film. The movie is shot by Seamus McGarvey. McGarvey is pushing with all of his might to elevate the film through its visuals. The colors in this movie really pop, from the look of the costumes like Barnum's red suit to architectural aesthetics. The color in this film is visually pleasing. Speaking of visually pleasing, the composition of scenes relays their messages without words like the drab, organized structure of his office building to his unwieldy circus. Some moments of the film I actually found to be underexposed, which is a strange technical error coming from such a high-budget film. It's ultimately a nitpick, but one that should be stated in a critique. I will say that though the cinematography is solid, some of the effects are downright bad. To rubber-looking acrobatics to CGing someone's face while talking, some of the effects are good, yet a plethora of them are just not practical and not appealing to the eyes. The direction is admirably naive in execution, while the cinematography shines as a colorful light in this hampered musical. The actors as well scratch tooth and nail to overcome the tedious narrative. Straight off the bat, Hugh Jackman as P.T. Barnum is wonderful. From what I hear about the film's conception and production, this was Jackman's passion project. It's visible in his performance as you can tell he's wistfully dedicated to the role of P.T. Barnum. Jackman makes the film entertaining enough to watch. Unfortunately, his arc is pretty predictable and overall uninteresting, which is disappointing. Michelle Williams is great here in the role of Barnum's wife. Her chemistry with Jackman is always engaging and warm. Michelle Williams has been killing the game these last couple of years. She shines here, displaying her musical side. I wish they had given her more to do other than just be Barnum's wife, meaning they should have given her more character. It just seems like one of those situations where the leads are obviously better than the film they're in, but they're professionals, so they're trying their hardest to save it. Zendaya and Zac Efron are fine here. Both of these actors are just so likable. I think both of them are electric and charismatic. That being said, I didn't really buy their relationship, but... Oh my god. What's that?
Those, sir, are the Zendaya and Zac Efron fanboys and girls who'll attack you for anything negative you say about the two. Run to the trenches, sir!
I love you, Zac Efron!
Well, that was weird. Their arcs are just a bit forced. Not to say this is their fault, I think the story and dialogue really just handcuff the two. They don't really elevate the material, but they're fine. The supporting cast is all good. I really enjoyed the bearded lady played by Keala Settle, and the shortest man alive played by Tom Thumb, and the admittedly cliché critic character. The members of the Freak Show really are intriguing characters. Whenever they were on screen together, they held my attention. Their chemistry together and relationship with Barnum were some of the most interesting aspects of the story. I wish the film would have elaborated on them more. These characters seem to be so interesting, yet their real-life complexities and idiosyncrasies are traded in for these happy-go-lucky Hallmark characters. The characters' arcs are understated, if they're at all. The characters aren't as intriguing as they could have been, yet the performances are all very good. They're entertaining to watch, and though I'm not on board with what it is, they capture what they are going for, which is commendable. Finally, let's take a look at the musical numbers in this flick. Prior to seeing the movie, I took a listen to the soundtrack as I had heard some positive word of mouth on it. I enjoyed a few songs, yet I found most of them to be pretty dull and 2017 poppy. They are admittedly better when you add that visual flair to them. The film is set in the mid-1800s. It would have been interesting to have at least a few pieces with the musical flair of this time, or have that overall motif in the music. Unfortunately, the film suffers from this juxtaposition between music and setting. That being said, I do enjoy the songs This Is Me, A Million Dreams, The Greatest Show, and The Other Side. The music numbers that accompany these songs are exciting as well. The choreography adds life and the camera work is genuinely exciting. That being said, I do really enjoy the songs This Is Me, A Million Dreams, The Greatest Show, and The Other Side. The music numbers that accompany these songs are exciting as well. The choreography and camera work genuinely add life to the scenes and the music. The modern music is a tad forgettable, but I did enjoy the musical numbers overall as they overflow with life. Never elevating above its laughably cliché story, the direction is naive yet admirable. The actors, especially Jackman, are giving their all, yet the characters aren't handled with the nuance that they deserve. The music is a tad forgettable, but the musical numbers and cinematography are all silver linings in this storm of a film. The Greatest Showman gets a 2.75 out of 5 stars for me. Overall, the film fails to be a compelling musical. The story isn't compelling, and though some of the aspects of the film are solid, they never elevate the material. Unfortunately, Jackman's passion project doesn't quite come together, but it's a noble failure. Walking out of the theater, I thought, that was fine. It kept me occupied for 2 hours. It's a fine family film and a perfect Redbox or Netflix movie. I can't recommend going to the theater to see it, though. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people who eat this movie up. That's what's great about art. It's subjective. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. Personally, the film let me down, but let me know what you think about it. Moving from a musical that didn't quite work for me to one that jazzed me up in all the right ways. This is my review for the 2016 Damien Chazelle film, La La Land. Now, prior to when I experienced La La Land for the first time in theaters, I can say with full resolve that my anticipation was indescribable. This was about the time when my love for old school Hollywood films had been in full swing. I was eating up every old, grandiose, black and white film that I could find. Casablanca, Citizen Kane, anything with Bing Crosby in it, I was glued to the screen. The magic of these motion pictures swept me off my feet, so I was so pumped when I saw the melancholy first trailer for La La Land, a film that yearned to celebrate the magic of cinema's history. Not to mention that the film was directed by Damien Chazelle, the young auteur who crafted quite possibly the best film of the last decade and a half with 2014's Whiplash, Don't At Me. The film also starred Ryan Gosling, who was incredibly hilarious in the year's previous film, The Nice Guys, and Emma Stone, who perfectly matches Gosling's charisma and wit. This film caught me at the exact right time. Every cylinder was firing for me to love this film. And walking out of the theater, was I disappointed? No, I actually loved it. Probably more than I should have. This year, I failed to recapture the feeling I had walking out of La La Land for the first time. I berated my social media praising this film, which, rightfully so, annoyed most of my followers. What can I say? The film perfectly captured the love and respect for old-school Hollywood, appealing to the starry-eyed, romantic dreamer in me, while also being a technically proficient film in its own right.
But Sam, isn't this just a stupid chick flick? What makes it so great? We'd all love to hear it.
Oh, I'll tell you, character I just made up for this very situation. This is La La Land. The plot of La La Land follows Mia and Sebastian, two star-crossed lovers desperately attempting to have their dreams fully realized in the city of stars. Mia dreams of stepping into the spotlight like her grandmother before her. Though she clearly has talent, she doesn't have the confidence or resolve to succeed. Sebastian is a down-on-his-luck, emotionally closed-off piano player and jazz enthusiast. Though he possesses an immaculate amount of skill, he lives in the past, never finding meaningful work to accomplish his dream of owning an old-school jazz club, instilling in others his love for the art form. Now, La La Land is not a perfect movie. Most movies usually aren't. The film's story is a fairly simple one at face value. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, they don't like each other, they warm up to each other, fall in love, squabbling, so on and so forth. But looking deeper into the story, there seems to be more than meets the eye. The movie is about young dreamers in the seemingly magical town of Los Angeles. The two characters fell for the lavishly star-studded promises of the city, yet they fail at achieving success, the success that they were promised. It's only when the two find each other that they realize what they need to accomplish their goals while facing the harsh realities that this magical town seldom portrays. One might call the story cliché with a couple of rushed aspects, and it can certainly come off that way. It did for me the first time I saw it. The film does have a few structural issues, yet I found myself able to overlook them as the emotion just overwhelmed me. The plot of La La Land is simple on the surface, but it's quite challenging when you search deeper. It's a film that examines the dreams of youth and how those dreamers must adapt and change to accomplish their goals. They realize that this magical city of LA isn't actually the La La Land that they had been promised. The direction and cinematography suit the story well. The film is directed by Damien Chazelle. As I stated earlier, Chazelle has one masterpiece under his belt already with Whiplash, which he made at the age of 30. That's ridiculous. Chazelle is my directing hero, making emotionally investing films at such a young age. Chazelle won Best Director for this film, and it's not hard to see why. Damien pulls out all of the stops for this film. The musical numbers are gorgeous from a visual standpoint, a character standpoint, and from a choreography standpoint. The camera work is terrific. In the old days of film, shots were much longer and directors used less cuts in their movies. Chazelle employs this here, capturing the old Hollywood feel in the somewhere in the crowd scene and Sebastian's first scene with his sister. Chazelle pays respect to cinema's golden age not only in visual style, but in its form. Chazelle brings out the best in every aspect of this film. By themselves, the film could not stand. Chazelle emotionally charges the filmmaking, the visual flair, and his actors to elevate the film to the highest it could go. The cinematography was done by Linus Sandgren. He and Damien are quite the dynamic duo here. The uses of color and lighting in this film are second to none. In the dance numbers, which we'll talk about later, the colors are dynamite, but even in the normal scenes, the use of special lights and colors are optimized. When Mia is walking past Sebastian's old place of work, when the red blending with her hair perfectly contrasts the blue behind her, when Gosling's playing the piano for the first time, when the light perfectly falls upon him. In costuming, in filmmaking, in every aspect of this film, the direction and cinematography are master classes. This could be a silent film, yet through visuals, color, and light, one can fully grasp the story, which is amazing for a musical. One could teach a course on cinematography for La La Land. Damien Chazelle has mastered what directors twice his age would love to be able to do. But what's a director without his actors? Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling star as Mia and Sebastian. Their performances aren't too nuanced, but they don't have to be. They're attempting to recapture the magic of old Hollywood. Emma Stone won the Academy Award here. She's juggling comedy, dramatic heft, singing, dancing, vulnerability, strength. Though it's not the subtle performance many look to praise nowadays, the performance is perfect for the film and the award is well deserved. Ryan Gosling is my favorite actor working today. Again, he doesn't deliver a groundbreaking performance. I personally liked his role in The Nice Guys better, but he gets the job done. He's charming and confident, yet passionate and earnest. The work he did to learn the piano is mind-boggling. Ryan Gosling is strong in this film, though he doesn't blow it out of the water. The two characters bring out the best in each other, and watching them interact is so enjoyable. The minor supporting cast like John Legend, Rosemary DeWitt, and J.K. Simmons are all fine. Legend is a bit of a MacGuffin to progress the plot along, but he's perfectly adequate in the film, and his song is catchy and poppy. La La Land highlights Mia and Sebastian's relationship. Both lack what the other needs. They fully realize the sacrifices and people they need to be to achieve their goals. They're so sweet on the screen and have so much charisma. You feel for these characters and want to see them succeed, even though they're slowly falling apart. Yes, some of the character aspects could have been realized a bit more, but at the end of the day, Chazelle wasn't going for a character piece. He wanted to hit your emotions, and if you're like me, he did. The musical numbers are top-notch in this film. Unlike how I felt with The Greatest Showman, the music blends well with the dance sequences and overall tone of the film, starting from the top to the bottom. Another Day of Sun is a really enjoyable track. The bass beat is easy to listen to and always puts me in a good mood. The scene, though it can come off as a little drab at some moments, is breathtaking. You can look past the odd shadows when you see all of the work being done in the choreography, the colors, and the camera work. It appears to be done in one shot, definitely done in two shots, but it's just a magical number and establishes the whimsical tone right off the bat. Somewhere in the Crowd is my favorite track and sequence in the entire film. It's so darn catchy in its own right. It builds and builds and builds, and it's just an exciting piece of music. The scene, though. The scene. The lighting and colors alone in this scene are Oscar-worthy. The opening is done in one shot, utilizing an assortment of different colors and lights. If you know anything about lighting and color, you know how hard this was to pull off, and Chazelle makes it look effortless. The sequence ends with a goosebump-inducing final minute. A Lovely Night is a really cute song, not too deep, but the interaction between the characters is really what makes this scene stand out. The choreography is awesome, it's done in one take, I cannot stress how hard it is to accomplish that. The colors are awesome, it's just a cute, well done number. Skimming through the middle section, Mia and Sebastian's theme is a beautiful song and a good emotional staple that ties back into the characters' lives. City of Stars is one of the best songs on the soundtrack, very emotional, melancholy yet hopeful. Planetarium is a swelling, lovely piece. Two jazz numbers, Summer Montage and Herman's Habits, are wistful and exciting, the prior having an awesome sequence to go along with it. Two of the final tracks on the album really set the music numbers apart. Audition is such an emotional piece. It gives me goosebumps any time that I watch it. If you've ever been a performer or you wanted to entertain people through your work, this song really hits home. Emma Stone displays a beautiful voice and acting chops that cemented her Oscar victory, melding seeping emotion with hope and confidence. Epilogue is the best song in the film, combining most of the other songs used earlier. It delivers the biggest emotional punch of the film. Literally everything about this scene from a visual standpoint is colorful, exciting, and artistic. It's joyous yet melancholy, remorseful yet sweet. The music is masterfully written, being bookended by Mia and Sebastian's theme. It takes you through what could have been. It encapsulates the magic that this La La Land should have been. They didn't receive what they wanted, but they grew, and though it concludes on a downer of a note, there's acceptance and hope. La La Land is one of my top favorite 15 films of all time. It's not perfect, but what it sets out to do, it perfectly achieves. The colors, the lighting, the choreography, the cinematography, and direction are masterful. The dance numbers are joyous, yet contribute to the story. The form relates perfectly to the film's story about dreamers and magical notions that people have about Hollywood. The emotion rides high in La La Land. Chazelle, bravo. For technical achievement, charm, and personal emotional connection, La La Land gets 5 out of 5 stars for me. I've seen this film the most times I've seen any movie in cinemas.
Who sees the same movie 7 times in the theater, you freak?
Hey, watch yourself. Not everyone loves this movie, and that's totally fine. I know the problems this film has, but the movie emotionally punched me. Let me know what you thought of La La Land, the story, the dances, and the performances. Moving on from majestic musicals to the less majestic logistics of Hollywood, these are today's cinema stories, the segment of our show where we talk the latest in movie and TV news and reviews. Now, although I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, I have to say that I'm a bit nervous about the upcoming Solo, a Star Wars story. With talented directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller being booted out of the project, having acting troubles with the lead, and just the idea of a Han Solo not being played by Harrison Ford has me a bit worried. There is hope, like always with Star Wars, though. According to Variety.com, John Williams will compose the main theme of the anticipated film. The rest of the movie will be scored by John Powell, whose notable works include Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, and The Bourne Identity. If the actual film turns out to be subpar, at least we'll have another great Star Wars soundtrack. Next, many of you know how I feel about the movie theater experience. It's a special event filled with pure joy, viewing and celebrating cinema. Apparently, the rest of the world thought so too this year. According to Deadline, the worldwide box office has just hit $39.92 billion. Internationally, the percentage of people coming to the cinemas this year is up 3%. Unfortunately, though, the same cannot be said domestically. The domestic box office take has been $11.12 billion, which is 2.3% less than last year. The global box office soared in 2017, while the domestic take wavered. Amy Poehler has been a force in the comedy landscape in the last decade. Between her role in the acclaimed Parks and Recreation and memorable Saturday Night Live appearances with Tina Fey, Poehler has not only been hilarious, but an overall likable presence. After 3 successful hosting bouts, Amy Poehler will return to present at the annual Golden Globes. Other presenters include Gal Gadot, Neil Patrick Harris, Seth Rogen, J.K. Simmons, and a handful more. Though the awards have little value at the Golden Globes, they sure do know how to put on a show. The Golden Globes will take place on January 7th of the new year. It's so sad, but we've reached our final number. Now, when this show premieres, it'll be the brand new year of 2018. That being said, I am dubbing this musical special as the non-official season finale of Cinema Stories. Being that this is the 10th episode of the show, it was super long, and there are going to be some scheduling changes. Due to my upcoming school semester and some other cool things I'm very excited to be working on for Public House Media, Cinema Stories will air every other week. This way I will be able to put forward my best work and give you guys the best show possible in overall thoroughness and production value. Thank you so much for your continued love and support. At the end of each episode, I usually like to thank a specific person to show my gratitude for supporting the show, but today, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I want to thank everyone who has supported me in any way. Anyone who has clicked on my profile, played my show on iHeartRadio, downloaded on Spreaker, reviewed it on Apple Podcasts, or just given me kind words. Any form of support makes me feel like the luckiest guy in the world, and it means more to me than you know. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in this season. Thanks to my gracious family, my loving girlfriend, and my amazing friends. It's been an amazing experience so far podcasting for Public House Media. It can be hard finding people to talk to about something you're passionate about. It's been such a blessing that I get to talk movie and TV news and reviews. Thanks to Public House Media, and remember, we all have a voice. Special thanks to Dion Key and Audio Binger for the music choices here today. Musicals can bring magic into our lives. They're fantasy, yet real and emotional. La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's so relatable, yet is elevated with music and magic. I have so much fun with this movie. Personally, I think that La La Land was stronger than The Greatest Showman, with music and its tone. That's my opinion though. At the end of the day, you can analyze film away, and don't get me wrong, I love doing it. But something that's not magical for some may be for someone else. Musicals are about being taken away to a world that's like ours, but filled with music and magic and joy. People can be cynical about them all they want, but at the end of the day, musicals try to remind us of the actual magic in our lives. Love, happiness, and family. So when you're watching a musical, tapping your feet to the beat, remember that. My name is Sam Kirby, you've been amazing, and I'll see you January 16th for the next episode of Cinema Stories. Blessings to everyone this new year. Bye!